2 pages, Xaviat Kaddish of the Tzemach Tzedek, was returned today to the Library of Agudas Hasid Chabad, the Central Lubavitch Library, from the Russian Military Archive in Moscow. The Russian Military Archive returned pages from the Chabad collection in Moscow to the Chabad Library? Not yet. We still hope that should be very speedily, but not yet. So how was these pages from the Russian Military Archive returned to Chabad Library today? For that I will have to tell you the long journey of these 2 pages in the last 83 years, starting in the winter of 1940 Tovshin in the collection of the Frierdiker Rebbe in Atwotsk, until today when it came back. How it was in the Frierdiker Rebbe's collection, and then how it went to the American Embassy in Warsaw, and then how it went to the German Nazi army, and then how it went to the Russian army, and then how it went to the military archive of the Russian army in Moscow, and then how the curator of the military archive sold them to one of the book dealers, and then how this book dealer tried to sell it in auction in Israel, and then finally how one of the Chassidim of Chabad purchased it back and returned it today to the Central Chabad Library. When the Frierdiker Rebbe was saved from Nazi-occupied Warsaw in the winter of Tovshin 1940, he stored 3 large crates of manuscripts, mainly Xaviat Kaddish of the Rebbeim, in the American Embassy in Warsaw for safekeeping till they will have a chance to bring it with them to the States and return it to the Rebbe in New York. It was there for about 2 years till the American army went into war against the Nazis. Then the Nazis confiscated the American embassy in Warsaw and everything that is in it, including these 3 crates of manuscripts of Chabad. They divided it into 2 parts. The larger part, several hundred of volumes of manuscripts in Halacha and Hasidus, they didn't find a special interest in that, and they put it for safekeeping in the public library in Warsaw. But several boxes, in all about 25,000 pages, they felt they have some meaning for the history of the Jewish nation. They took it with them and they included it into the museum that they prepared for the Jewish nation. It was in their hands for several years till the end of the war, where they were defeated by the American and Russian army. The Russian army took this material of the museum, they took it with them to Moscow, and they stored it in the military archive in Moscow, where for over 50 years no one knew what's there. In the end of the 20th century, we were notified that there are several boxes in that archive from the Chabad Library, Xavier Kiddush. We tried to convince the Russian government to return it to us. It didn't help, so we approached them with the federal court in Washington that gave out a decree they should return it all. Till today we still didn't succeed them to return to us the material, not from the General Library and not from the military archive yet. So at least they agreed to copy this part of the archive for us for a high price of more than $1 for each page they copy. These Xerox copies of about 25,000 pages are in this Central Library, Chabad Library, since then. In several years later, in the year of 2009, we have edited and published a volume of the sponsor of the Tzemach Tzedek, according to these manuscripts that is still in Moscow, that we have copies of. One of these volumes that was in the military archives, and we have the copy of it, we gave it the number of 1021. Includes halacha and responsa of the Tzemach Tzedek in his handwriting. But there are 12 special pages in that volume. There are pages of Sha'ilot of Rabbonim that sent a letter, a question to the Tzemach Tzedek, and on that page of the Shaila, the Tzemach Tzedek responded with his handwriting. Interesting that on the Shaila that he received, he wrote the answer, and afterwards it was bound in a volume together with his handwriting of other parts of halacha and responsa. In that same year, 2009, we were notified that 12 pages of this volume of Xavier Kiddush of the Tzemach Tzedek was torn out from the original bound manuscript by the curator of the military archive, the Russian military archive in Moscow, and sold them to a book dealer. We approached the court that gave the order that they should be returned to us by the book dealer, but we didn't succeed yet. He sold it in an auction, and 2 of these pages, of these 12 pages, was purchased by Ahmad Hasid and returned today to the Central Chabad Library. Where are the other 10 pages that was torn out of the original handwriting bound volume and sold to a book dealer, that he sold it in an auction to collectors? We still don't know. We really hope that very speedily these pages, together with the whole collection of Sforim and manuscripts of the Rabbeim that are still in Russia, should be happily returned to the Chabad Central Library, the library of Agudas Hasidic Chabad.